Do not forget to subscribe and like and share, or you may become the spillage. Chapter 13, Decoy. When the darkness lifted at last, he could see the boat, a small motor launch, about 17 feet in length. It floated in less than 10 feet of water off the deep core dock, moored by a short hawser, bobbing up and down with the rhythm of the incoming waves. Kelly sat in the bow, waiting for him. She had loaded the boat with supplies they would need for crossing the Bransfield Strait. She wore her thermal suit and snow goggles. She seemed excited, but unafraid. He glanced back over his shoulder once more, looking for Tarosha's men. Then he slipped the hawser from its mooring and leaped down into the boat, landing lightly. He went back to the stern and started the heavy-duty Johnson. The launch moved out of the near-freezing waters of the small bay, deep blue in their depths, but almost transparent for the first 100 feet or so because of the intense cold. Looking down, they saw an abundant variety of marine life. Kelly pointed to the leopard seals darting back and forth beneath them. A pod of humpback whales glided past the cavorting seals with graceful dignity, along pectoral fins trailing beside them like angels' wings. Kelly smiled and reached out her hand for his. He caught it and returned the smile. The boat sailed across the pellucid waters of the bay, while in the background, pale blue walls of drifting icebergs gleamed like the ramparts of an alien world. A sudden commotion in the water caught their notice. The water turned dark, then frothy white, bubbling fiercely like a cauldron filled with witch's brew. The roiling water swelled up towards them and burst, splashing them with liquid so cold it seemed to burn the flesh from their bones. The Tyrannosaur's head emerged from the waves, dripping with gelid water like a dark god rising from the deep. Kelly screamed, but it all sounded wrong, like the howling of windstorms. The launch listed hard to starboard, tipping them over towards the Tyrannosaur. Simply supply bundles rolled across the deck and into the near-freezing water. He grabbed on to the gunwale with one hand and reached out for Kelly with the other, but she slipped away from him down towards the water and what lay within it. He stretched out his arm until it ached, trying to grab her before she fell into the water. The great jaws opened wide, revealing the creature's deep, yawning throat. Cold water cascaded from the large, curved fangs, and impaled on each fang, like meat on a spit, was a head from one of the dead of Deep Core Station. Bradshaw, Cosnan, West, Chen, Ballard, McKelvey. Wedged between two curving fangs lay Jack's amputated leg. Kelly tumbled into the water, down into the devouring jaws. Troy screamed, but what came out was a sound like dying. The launch tipped all the way over, plunging him into the water as cold as death. He felt a burning pain on his right side as the terrible jaws grabbed hold of him, severing bones and muscles, crushing him into nothingness. He screamed again, a real scream this time, loud, hoarse. He woke up from the dream in a cold sweat, sitting up suddenly, throwing off the blanket that had pulled over him on the floor of the map room. Searing pain sliced into his head, and his right side seemed to be on fire once again. He clutched his head with both hands, sucking air through clenched teeth. Kelly put a hand on his chest and pushed him down gently. Her face was dark with deep shadows, cast by the only illumination in the room, a flashlight resting on a low table. "Easy," she said. "You're okay. Bad dream?" He tried to nod, but the pain stopped him. "Head hurt?" "Yes," he said, moving his jaw as little as possible. "Feels like it's coming off the back." "You're lucky. It could have been worse. If you hit it any harder, you would have crushed it. How's the right side?" "Hurts like hell." "No wonder. What did you do to it?" "Hit the wall on my way down when I fell off the catwalk." "I don't think you broke anything, but you sure bruised the hell out of yourself." "The last thing I remember was when the generator blew and I got thrown back into the wall. Who dragged me out of there? Jack. Jack? With one leg? All by himself. Troy sighed. I owe him one. The way he sees it, he was paying back one, the one he owes you. Troy glanced at the dark room and the flashlight. I guess nothing could be done with the generator? Burned to scrap metal. The room would have burned too if the walls hadn't been made of iron. We're on candle and flashlight power permanently. That's why it's so cold in here. Troy started to get to his feet, wincing with the pain. Kelly pushed him back down. Stay where you are. She took the flashlight and brought it close to him. He shut his eyes. What are you doing? Open your eyes. She raised a finger. How many fingers am I holding up? Come on, Kelly. How many fingers? 1. She held up a second finger. How many now? 2. You have very pretty fingers, you know that. You don't have much of a concussion. If you can recycle worn out lines like that with a straight face. What, am I supposed to have a concussion? Most people would after hitting an iron wall that hard, unless they happen to have an iron head. I'm lucky that way. How long was I out? About 14 hours. 14? He sat up abruptly, teeth clenched against the pain. You gotta learn to quit that. It must hurt. It does. He laid back down, lowering his head gently. It's night again, isn't it? Almost. Why isn't Tarosh holding another meeting? He is. Why aren't you there? He wanted to make sure you came out of this coma okay. Psh, I'm touched. I don't think it's deeply personal or anything like that. He sees you as some kind of lucky charm. You're the one who faced down T-Rex by yourself twice and lived to talk about it. Yeah, I'm a real superhero. Well, you're my kind of hero. He lifted his head carefully. You mean that? I never joke with concussion victims. He threw off the blanket and sat up. I better go out there and see what he's up to. I'm doing it slowly, okay? Kelly blocked his way for the 3rd time. You're not going anywhere until you feel better. Tarosh is a nervous guy. If I don't show my face out there soon, he'll come back here and find me. The hell with Tarosh. You think he matters? What can he do? My only hope for survival now is you, Troy Darrow. You're going to have to get well again so we can leave this place like we planned, along with Wolf. Where is Wolf, anyway? Over there in the corner. Troy looked into the darkness and saw 2 luminescent eyes staring back at him, pale yellow like the Tyrannosaurs, but with a comforting mammalian warmth to them. Sorry, he said, standing up slowly. I've got to be there. Tarosh's meeting took place in what was left of the commissary by candlelight, attended by key people who had survived. Zalman, his face scarred by near misses. Jack, crutch propped against the side of his chair. Troy, head bandage, and Kelly sitting in the shadows further back from the light. The many empty chairs around the table drew attention to those who could not attend. The 2 unfamiliar faces belonged to Dmitry Proskov and Vladimir Belin, the last, along with Zalman, of Tarosh's security consultant. Our situation has grown worse, Tarosh said. I think that much is obvious. What can we do about it? The answer to that, I think, is also obvious. Get the hell out of here, Troy suggested. Several heads turned in his direction. Kelly gave him a frown. Are you serious, Troy? Tarosh asked slowly. No, just a bad joke. Very bad, as I was saying. It's not such a crazy idea, Jack said. When you look at what's already happened, most of our food and medicine gone, our electricity and heat, what more can we lose by trying to make a run for it? Our lives, Tarosh said. We have nowhere to go and no means to get there. Taking a motor launch across the Bransfield Strait in this weather would be suicide. We could cross the mountains, Jack said, and get over to the Russian base on the other side of the peninsula. Kelly glanced at Troy again. Maybe, Tarosh said, and maybe not. A party trying to reach the Vladivostok station would have to travel on foot, without sled dogs, crossing difficult terrain and probably under blizzard or near blizzard conditions. And of course, there would still be the Tyrannosaur to deal with. I would give such a party 1 in 100 chance of making it to the Vladivostok station alive, and those are optimistic odds. So what do we do? Troy asked. Go up against T-Rex one last time with the invincible tranquilizer gun? Tarosh forced a bleak smile. Obviously, we can't outfight the beast, not with such weapons as we possess. and not when he has the element of surprise entirely on his side. Instead, we must surprise him. How? By luring him into a trap and putting him in a position where at least some of the odds are in our favor for a change. What do we bait the trap with? Jack asked. We don't have enough food left for ourselves. I wasn't thinking of luring him with freeze-dried stew. What were you planning to use? Kelly asked. Strange you would ask that, Miss Sawyer. Tarosh turned to her in the shadows. As you have pointed out to us on several occasions, this creature is a hunter, designed by nature to feed on living prey. I suggest we give it what he wants. A human sacrifice? You gotta be kidding. Not a sacrifice, Miss Sawyer. A decoy. Something to lure him as close as possible until we spring the trap shut. I already sacrificed one leg to him, Jack said. You got anyone else who's willing to go the whole way? I'm sure we can find the right person, Jack. How do you convince him of that? There are ways. Zalman and Proskov exchanged quick, unpleasant glances. Even if you tie some poor bastard to a stake as bait, Troy said, you still have to take care of T-Rex. And like you said, we haven't got the weapons for it. We have the tranquilizer guns. Come on, Tarosh. You know the damn things don't work. Your boy Koznov tried it. Paul West tried it. No one has ever tried it with the element of strategy on his side. The whole point of using a decoy is that it will give the man with the tranquilizer gun time to accurately take aim at the target, time to fire more than once. And you really think that's going to bring him down? At this point, it's our only chance. If we do nothing, he will attack again. Perhaps tonight, surely within the next 24 hours. Is there anyone here who doubts that? Tarosh looked around the table. I have a question, Kelly said. Suppose you're able to knock him out for a while. What then? Leave him in the snow in hopes he catches pneumonia and dies? We have one more steel mesh net at our disposal. Of course, Troy said. The famous steel mesh net. Remember how well that worked last time? You're making a bad joke again, Troy. The net will be used this time to secure the beast after he is sedated. What happens when he wakes up? We have enough tranquilizer darts to keep him sedated for as long as necessary. And you have some kind of backup for this plan? We have enough gelunite left to use as a last resort, but I don't think explosives will prove necessary. Jack, who had been listening carefully, gave a faint shrug. You never know, he said. It could work. Where is this going to take place? Troy asked. Far away from here, obviously. We can't withstand another direct assault. We want to make sure he goes for the decoy, not the central complex. He's pretty unpredictable. What if he decides to go for the complex anyway, just for the hell of it? I don't think that will happen. To make sure it doesn't, we intend to use flares to attract his attention. Flares? What time of day are we talking about? Tonight, as soon as possible. You've got this all worked out, haven't you, Tarosh? I believe so, yes. Except for one small detail. What's that, Troy? The bait. How are you going to force this poor bastard, whoever he is, to go along with your little scheme? I don't think it's a matter of forcing anyone. But since you bring it up, why don't we ask her? Kelly drew back in shock. Me? You son of a bitch. Troy rose to his feet, his voice rising with him. You dirty goddamn son of a bitch. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that, Troy, or at least that I didn't hear it. My decision. Well, then I'll say it again, you dirty son of a bitch. I would be more careful if I were you, Troy, about what I said. Perhaps this is another one of your bad jokes, but how can I know for sure? Zalman, who already had his Makarov out, aimed it at Troy. It ain't no joke, Tarosh. I'm sorry to hear that. What are you going to do about it? Troy, Kelly said to him, sit down. That's good advice, Troy. Why don't you follow it? Why don't you see if you can make me? Tarosh glanced over to where Zalman sat on the other side of the table, pointing the Makarov at Troy. Zalman shifted his eyes slightly to meet Tarosh's glance. Troy grabbed the candlestick sitting in front of him and threw it across the table into Zalman's face, burning, and first, the flame caught him in the left eye. Zalman screamed, "Ah!" and grabbed at the eye with his free hand. Troy leaned across the table, his right side burning with pain, and grabbed hold of Zalman's gun, hand pulling it back until the Makarov pointed at the ceiling. Zalman jerked the trigger 3 times in quick succession. The 3 gunshots exploded inside the commissary. Chunks of plaster and dust rained down from the ceiling. Troy, grappling for the gun with both hands, rammed his elbow into Zalman's burned eye. Zalman screamed in pain, but did not let go of the gun. Proskov and Belin were in the act of drawing their own guns when Troy kicked out Proskov's, catching him in the face, knocking him out of his chair and down to the floor. Proskov, a heavy man, fell hard and took Belin down with him. Troy leaned his elbow into Zalman's throat, closing off the man's windpipe. Zalman began to gasp for air. Troy felt cold steel pressing into the side of his head. He let go of Zalman's gun hand. Zalman collapsed back into the chair, clutching at his throat while making gagging sound. Troy glanced up at Tarosh, his face hard in the candlelight. The muzzle of his Makarov rested against Troy's temple. I told you once before, Troy, that if I had to draw this again, I would shoot you. Several long seconds passed. A candle flame on the other side of the table flickered under Proskov's heavy breathing as he drew himself painfully to his seat and leaned on the arm of his chair. What's holding you back, Tarosh? Tarosh shoved the gun barrel forward, causing a sharp pain to radiate from Troy's temple to the back of his head. Don't play games with me, Troy. I need you for the decoy operation. I need you to make it work. Troy's eyes moved over to where Kelly sat by herself, farther down the table, alone in the shadows. Look at me when I talk to you, Tarosh ordered. Troy glanced back at him. I need you to work with us, Troy. But if you're going to fight us, I'll have to kill you now. Troy could feel the cold metal barrel resting against his skin, the smell of gun oil. Zalman took his hands away from his face to watch. Thick liquid oozed from his burned eye. Well, Troy, Tarosh asked, are you with us or not? Let me be the decoy. That's not an option, Troy. You need her here. Tim Sullivan was killed in the commissary last night. You need her as a temporary medic. I've made my decision, Troy. Now I must make one more. Can you help make it? Simply by telling me yes or no. Troy glanced again at Kelly in the shadows. Tarosh thumbed back the hammer to the Makarov. The sharp click sounded loud to Troy, so close to his ear. He swallowed hard, then said, okay. And that is the end of Chapter 13.